This is my presentation for management and use of building data for EDAS 6210. The demographic data for Kaleida Local School District, I teach in the high school building. Overall in the district, it's a very small district, 585 students, and there's not much diversity at all. 582 or 99.5% are white, non-Hispanic. 67 students or 11.4% are considered students with disabilities. And then 57 or 9.7% are students who are economically disadvantaged. So the other parts of the demographic data like Black non-Hispanic or English learner or migrant, those are so small in our district that we don't even have like the specific number because they're considered not counted for the state data, the state report card. What types of data are teachers and administrators using? So in my district, I see administrators using demographic data to see a need for specific teachers, state assessments to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the district. Teachers in my district, we use STAR tests to view reading abilities and also to see if students are making growth. IXL in the math classes, kind of to do the same thing as the STAR test, and then state assessment results and value-added scores are used as well by teachers. How are administrators using this data? I kind of talked with our current high school principal, Dean Brinkman, and he shared some interesting ways in which he uses data in his position. He told me that he uses it to evaluate the need for more teachers or support staff, such as intervention specialists or paraprofessionals, value-added scores to see the growth that students are or are not making, and then the need for an assistant principal or extra guidance counselor. I do know that a couple years ago in our district, we added paraprofessionals at the elementary level because the class sizes got a little bit bigger, and they needed, with the third grade reading guarantee, they wanted to make sure that the kindergarten, first graders, second graders, third graders were getting the adequate attention that they needed to do well, and to make sure that they're reading up to their grade level. So I do know that happened a couple years ago in our district. Dean also shared with me in his previous position as an elementary principal, he had a lot more diversity. So he went to the board for to see if they would hire an extra guidance counselor because he saw a need for that with some discipline issues and things like that. So he said he used some of that data to help him in trying to get more support staff. How are teachers using data? Apologize for my double use of using there. I feel that the teachers in my district use data from assessments like the STAR and IXL to evaluate where the students are in their learning. For example, I teach high school English, so I will test my students at the beginning of the year to see where they are reading level wise. If they, are above, like they're freshmen and they're at a 12th grade reading level, that's awesome. But I also have those freshmen who will test at like a 4th grade reading level. So of course I need to know those things when we're reading class novels or I'm assigning them specific AR books to read. Their Lexile score will also provide information for the text difficulty they can read. So these assessments are also used to measure growth in students over the year. Like I said, math teachers use an assessment called IXL or a program called IXL. I'm not completely familiar with that, but from what I've understood from talking with some teachers, it's similar to what the STAR program, STAR test does for English and reading. How are teachers using data? Continued. State assessments give the breakdown of value-added scores. So we had a professional development earlier on this year that kind of gave us a breakdown of or where to find the breakdown of the standards that are assessed on the state assessments. And the breakdown allows us to see that standard, how well our students did on that standard last year during the state tests. And then these results can also allow us to predict how our current students will do with the various standards by the end of this year. Or I can always look back at the standards from last year, like my current freshmen, when they took it as 8th graders, just to see the standards that some of them need to work on, and I can take that into account with my instruction with them this year. What kinds of support are available to help with this data use? Like I just mentioned, we did professional development at the beginning of the year to look at state assessments. There was explanations on how to decipher state assessment scores, but this is one aspect of my district that I feel needs improved upon, is that support that's available to us. Because I do think, and I'll explain this here in a couple slides, but I do think that we need some more professional development to really understand our scores and to know where to go next after looking at the scores. What factors influence the use of data for decision making? I was thinking of a couple with this question: poor scores on assessments, increased class sizes. This current 8th grade class, I teach one class of 8th grade reading, and this current 8th grade class really struggles. They have a lot of struggling learners and a lot of students that are on IEPs, but even the students who aren't on IEPs, they struggle. And it's tough to see that. They're a bigger class, and I think that throughout the years, they've been put in these very big class sizes, and they haven't been given the attention that they need. So it's frustrating to see that. So I think with the increased class size, that's something that the district should make some exceptions for and should help out with the classes that are a little bit bigger. Anticipated issues with high stakes scores, such as the 3rd grade reading guarantee, increase in students with disabilities to see if there's more need for another intervention specialist, and then change in the demographic of the school. How do you surmise the district might improve in the use of data to improve student learning? Knowing the size and makeup of the class, just kind of like what I said with the 8th grade class, and how it's kind of frustrating to see how they haven't really been given that attention that I think is needed for some of the learners in that classroom. Students with IEPs, knowing how many there are and if there's a need for more support staff to help with those students. Scores of individual classes across the whole district, and then the demographic for each class. So I think in order to improve student learning, the district could improve upon looking at these numbers more closely and realizing that there may need to be some shifts in or some additions with the staff. And then also, I think the district might improve in the use of data with instructional effectiveness, more professional development, like I mentioned. We have the ESC come in and they do a professional development at the beginning of the school year where they show us where to find the data from the state assessments, and they show us specific standards, but they give us that assistance, but then they leave and we don't really get anything else. So I think more professional development to see how we can improve upon our instruction with those specific standards that our students struggle with. And I think time for curriculum meetings. Our school doesn't give us a lot of time to work with other English teachers or other math teachers, and I think the instructional effectiveness of the entire district would improve if we could have more time for that and use the data that's provided for us to assist us in talking with those teachers in these meetings. Thanks.